Yeah, some of those like standard optimizations now too. You have to be careful because like one of my clients, he's an apparel brand. He hates them. He was like, why are they doing like a pink background and this? And I'm like, I don't know what they're doing. So he had that. They started rolling it out, and it wasn't even a button yet. And they just started doing it to his account. And I went in and I was like, I can't even uncheck this anywhere. But now it's part of those, standard optimizations. Some of my clients, they don't care. He's one of them. He's like, don't run that. So we turn those off for him. But it's.
All right, folks, welcome back to your favorite D2C podcast. We are back with Ashvin Melwani, just hot off closing a new crib. He's in a fancy townhouse now, so hopefully he'll still talk to me. My little plebe, I'm still over here renting like a little poor person, but he did send me one of those boxes, and I owe you an unboxing. He has an incredible podcast now with Big Ron. Chew on This. It's really cool. You guys should definitely check it out. And he sent us this really cool Chew on This box, but I'm burying the lead. He did not send me a Synquist jacket. The man with the plan, Tony Christensen, one of my favorite humans, born. This is why Geek Out's so important. You build friendships that last forever. I met Tony at the Geek Out circuit, and we went to multiple together, and we just bonded, and we just, dude, we got to have you on the podcast. He's one of the top tier, just creative minds, incredible media buyer, just everything. So we'll get into creative strategy. We'll get into all the awesomeness today. So Tony, thanks for joining us.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Awesome to be on the pod. Yeah, I'm jealous of the Chew on This like lighting and setup that you guys have. I'm like, I'm moving right now, so like all my lights are down, and I'm just sad. But like I see your guys' stuff, you got neon, and I'm just like, stepping it up. I love it.
It's so good.
Yeah, appreciate it.
Yeah, they don't miss. Before we jump into everything, did you get all your Christmas shopping done and everything, Ash? Did you get all your holiday shopping in?
Dude, I'm like so behind on stuff. I'm so behind. I think I need to hit the mall, man. I can't order anything online because everything's like, all right, you're past the date now.
Oh my gosh.
Shipping, man, it's been backed up.
Yeah, it's been bad. Are you a mall rat? Do you like the mall or no?
I do. I like walking around and seeing what's up. It's like I'm still like the old school fashion that way, but I know a lot of people are like, I just got to order online because like I have no time to go to the mall, but gotta make some time and go explore.
I'm a little bit. I'm of mall rat descendant. I worked in the mall like my whole youth, and I miss it. There's a certain nostalgia there, but it did give me a huge aversion to Christmas music because when you hear it over and over and over again, you want to stab somebody in the eye. But yeah, I have a weird affinity for decent malls as well. What about you, Tony? You all sussed up?
Yeah, we simplified it. It's like about the niece and nephew this year. So I'm like, yeah, got them covered. But everyone else is like, we're old and not giving each other gifts. So that's where we're at with our stage.
I like
life
that.
Right now,
it makes life easier.
Yeah.
I think it's.
I'm the one without kids, so I'm like, guys, am I considered a kid now still, or no? And I don't think I am. So
I'll allow
it.
Yeah. Again, one more thing before we jump in, Tony, you're kind of a culinary adventurer. Have you hit any cool restaurants? You've been kind of slacking on your IG feed. What's going on? I normally look to you as like the Yelp for the elite.
Yeah, I went to Mastro's in Scottsdale more recently. That was really good. Just like caviar, A5 Japanese Wagyu and all the greatness. I pulled some strings there and got.
Did you get the butter cake?
What's that?
Did you get the butter cake from Mastro's?
I don't think I did, sadly.
The dessert?
I gotta go back.
The butter cake at Mastro's is next level.
Like, no. Yeah, but it was super good. Yeah, we got like this. We pulled some strings and got like a nice, like they call it a piano table. It was like there was a guitarist there playing music and like a fake grand piano table that makes it look like he's behind a piano, but it was just like live music right there and like good food and it was good. But yeah, I think they're a bigger chain everywhere, but that was good.
Amazing. You can definitely tell who's pulling down the average of the annual salaries here, folks. But that's not here nor there as we move on to the next thing. So, Tony, I want to talk to you about kind of some creative strategies, some creative systems. Everybody, unless you're in kind of what we're talking about offline, unless you're in kind of a heavy gifting vertical right now, December is usually kind of lick your wounds, retool, get ready for the new year. How can I really, tackle 2023? Can I put some operational excellence in place, maybe implement some different systems. Can you kind of take me through, because you have a fairly robust strategy and process in terms of how you guys think of creative, how you strategize around creative, and then how you flight creative. Can you give me some insight into that?
Yeah, we do. We're really like heavy with the research up front when we start working with new clients. So we go through a very extensive process where we're going through, Shopify stats, Google Analytics stuff, Google Ads stuff, past Facebook performance, looking at, scroll stops, all sorts of fun metrics. And then we really dive into sort of like the psychographic information and details and stuff. So like, how are people talking about the products? Who is the avatar? What's the main pain point they're talking about? What's the main benefit that the product's solving? And then we try to find just like literally every angle. Just like if it's something even that I don't think is related, but like someone says, "Oh, I was in the military and I did this," like I write that down, like all this kind of stuff. And then we really dive into, what are the patterns that we're seeing? So we kind of go through. I typically will do big word clouds of all of the data that we have. And then I'll also go through and read like 100, 200 reviews, which is very time consuming now. I luckily have like an employee now that helps me with this a bit more.
Okay.
But then we'll look for, because we could try to use tools for it, but they just can't, I found, pick up quite as well. I mean, the word clouds help a lot, but they just can't quite pick up the nuances of someone saying something that's basically the same thing, but it's slightly differently worded, So it's fairly manual, but then we kind of look at what's the distribution, right? Are they just naming pain points at the problem solving, or are they naming just all the benefits that they love about the product? And then is that one or two things that really leads the way? Is it like 5 to 8 things or whatever that's kind of more evenly mentioned from everyone that we're looking at? And then from that, we can pretty much gauge and have like a rough idea of, okay, here's our target avatar that we're going for. Here's like, it's just basically reverse engineering it all, right? So then, what are people loving about it? Sometimes there is like a bias of the data. If the site says something like it's the most comfortable, whatever, then we might see that leak into the reviews. And then it's like, okay, maybe we don't look at that as much. But sometimes we'll find outliers too with that, right? Like a brand might not say that it's really comfortable, or that, we work with some electronics companies now, something that's like easy to set up or use or something like that. They might not mention it or feature it as much on the site. So we'll look at that and just find those discrepancies too and dive into that. So a lot of this research up front that we do, it's guiding us in our creative strategy, but then it's also helping us work with the brands and feedback like, hey, your site, you should kind of switch your copy up here, maybe try this angle. And then from those, main items listed or whatever, we'll kind of dive into that more and test it with ads and see, are people going to respond to that? And then you kind of like the phase of that is like, how do we then amplify, right? If something's comfortable, how do we amplify that it is comfortable to the max degree, or show that something's uncomfortable? Maybe it's a competitor or whatever it might be. So that's kind of how we handle it all. And usually from there, we're it guides us in a really nice direction, and we get it into kind of diving into it more and more and testing more some of those secondary items and whatnot too.
I love that. That's definitely come up time and time again. I think it's just such a missed opportunity for a lot of people to go through the reviews, the comments on ads, things of that nature. I know Ash has mined so many things. Ash also implements some post-purchase surveys that he also kind of uses to augment that data. Do you have any systems in terms of like, so I'm doing this research, do you use like Notion, do you use a spreadsheet? Like, how do you collate all this stuff to then take it to the next level of actual, like going from kind of research to ideation / creation?
Yeah, I'd love to automate it definitely a lot more. It's basically a sheet that we have. So basically we have a sheet with different tabs. We'll look at competitors too. But yeah, we have a sheet of different tabs. Basically, I'll have all the raw data. I have some tools now I'm starting to use to try to scrape data too, which is kind of cool. So if there's like even Amazon reviews and things that we want to scrape, we can use tools for. But most of it, gets into a spreadsheet that we then sift through. We might use, like I said, word cloud tools too. And then kind of the second phase after we do all that research, we pretty much present it to a client. So we make a nice, we have a templated slide deck basically that then we just show them, here's what we're looking at. And we have a lot of other kind of things that we do too. So we'll look at like concepts too. I think I can't remember who spoke about this at one of the Geek Outs, but we'll go through all the competitors too and just like list out all the concepts, even if they're very like rudimentary things, like someone posing. We had one client we just worked with. It's like fake selfie shots, right? So someone's showing an outfit with a phone, but it's not actually the phone taking the photo. It's like a DSLR. So that might be one, or someone posing in the living room or the product outside or inside or with a pattern background. And we'll kind of put all that into another slide deck. I'm trying to figure out still how to make these systems more efficient and kind of more streamlined. But we get a lot of data from both of those things. But yeah, a lot of it's just a Google Sheet for the review research for the most part. Yeah.
That's super awesome. And then, okay, cool. So now I've researched, I have these things. Now what's the next layer? So I know what ads are you starting to create? So you're creating angles and kind of value props from the research that you've just done?
Yeah. There's a lot, like I said, with it all, there's a ton to it. So yeah, a lot of it's like the creative angles and stuff. Have they ran that angle before? Have they not? Looking at the site too, is it on there? Are they mentioning it in the copy there? Even in emails, we don't help people with email, but we'll dive in and just see what they're doing there too. And like, is there a gap there on things that they might need to mention? There's a lot with it though too, because there's also like looking at, are they mentioning that they're using it for, like, we have brands that sell apparel, right? And there might be different use cases there. So we might find, different bundle opportunities there that we can push, like, in-cart upsells and stuff. Again, we're not doing that type of work, but we're just feeding that back to them to then be able to, increase average order value and stuff too. But yeah, once we gather all that research, we feed all that back. We kind of have a pretty big in-depth meeting with the client, kind of talk about all of that. And then it's like, yeah, we kind of know we should go in this direction. So let's roll out those tests now with those different angles that we've kind of seen. If there is kind of an even distribution of main pain points or benefits, those could be their own ad angles and campaigns. But then we'll also probably test them together too. Like, and just, here's the top 3 things, or top 3 reasons why people love X product and things like that we might try as well. So yeah, it's just sort of a very multifaceted approach with a lot of things going on at once. Yeah.
Are you using
That's
like
awesome.
different landing pages for all the different angles?
I wish we were a bigger agency and we were doing a lot of landing pages stuff. To be honest, we're not as much. Some of our clients, we'll help them and give them quite a bit of feedback on product pages where they pretty much essentially turn into a landing page. But we're not quite at that point now with our agency. We're a very lean agency, so we just aren't there to be able to help them build those out. I definitely want to get to that point and be able to test and build things out. But some of our clients, they're doing it, and we're kind of giving them feedback and helping them build those. But we don't personally do it, but we can give them a lot of feedback and different ideas there and different angles for sure.
Yeah. No, I'm just curious because like even for us, like a lot of what you're saying is what I'm kind of doing now in like the month of December, doing like a roundup of 2022 and literally going month by month at all the tests that we've run and really pulling out like, all right, which are some of the common angles that have always won, and then like the types of creatives that have, consistently been winning, and so if I can iterate for next year, right? The one of the biggest things that I've noticed, like especially towards the end of the year, is that a lot of people, again, I'm going to use an obvious example, but one of the biggest thing has been hair loss, right? And so within there has been like, there's different reasons for hair loss, right? Like post-COVID can cause hair loss, stress, menopause, alopecia, like there's so many different reasons. And so instead of like sending all these people who are dealing with one giant issue, like kind of diving into like these like little like sub issues, like we've noticed a lot of reviews are like, oh, I took this after going through COVID and it's helped. And so like maybe designing an angle just around post-COVID hair loss, right? So we actually just like set up a landing page this week, which is basically the same landing page that we've been sending to, just like one key phrase to like just add that congruency, and it like makes all the difference in the world,
Yeah.
So I think that like getting all those angles is so crucial, but then what really like nails it is that like, even if it's just one sentence or just one thing to just make sure like, okay, I'm here for COVID related hair loss. Is this still for that? So just, that's what I've been seeing recently, actually.
Yeah, we have some, like an example I thought right away. We work with a slides company. And looking at the data, like plantar fasciitis kind of stood out. And I did not think it was such a broad issue, but we started putting it on creative and it like blew up, and it was like, it scaled like like hundreds of thousands, like a month. And then same thing, we put that on the landing page, and just like it kind of skewed that way with the demographic, like kind of an older demographic. But it was shocking, like just writing that on an ad where I didn't even think it was something that people mentioned that much, and it just took off and did really well. But yeah, I agree with you. Like we've seen it with our clients, and they're one of the ones that they can quickly spin up those kind of landing pages. And yeah, like it makes a huge difference, even if it's just the headline, like matching whatever that headline is of the ad,
exactly,
or that creative overlay is, or text overlay. I mean, yeah, it's crazy. Just like small things like that, where we're just, and sometimes we'll do that too. We'll just get the top creative, and then we'll just put those different angles, like plantar fasciitis, or like foot pain, or standing on your feet all day, or like, working all day on your feet. Those minor differences can be like just huge when it comes to scaling them. Yeah. And those kind of results that you can get.
It's just getting the right audience, right? It's like, you're literally triggering somebody's emotion just from that like main headline. Like what I'll do is like the design team will have one specific ad, or I guess like lifestyle image, and just swap out the headline. Like you have one image that can become 6 ads, 6 different headlines, 6 different angles to try, and like you're hitting 6 different pockets in the same audience, which I think is like super underrated, and I don't think enough people are doing it. And like the people who aren't doing it, it's like, how are you like nailing your targeting? I'm always like curious at how people are like getting that done. Like it might be through the ad copy, right? But trying to get that like congruency and that exact audience that you want right now is so hard because of like targeting inefficiencies on the platform. But I think the headlines on the ads is like the number one hack that I think this year alone is proven to do really well for us.
Yeah. That's kind of what we use, those USPs that we start to see stand out. And that's why I write down a lot of that demographic data. Cause we might see like, oh, this guy was retired or hurt in the military, or like the most random things. And then we'll try to see it. Some of those might be too specific, but a lot of times we'll be able to pull out those different kind of angles and run with those a bit more. And then we'll be like, oh, that's actually, like, we might test those kind of evenly. And then we might see, oh, plantar fasciitis is taken off. Well, let's triple down on that now and run that with all the best creative that we've had with that angle. And then, look at landing pages and what we can do there with headlines. And it's crazy. Like simple things sometimes of just like wording it slightly different can, take things off to the next level for sure.
On a tactical level, how are you testing like ads? Are you testing different angles in different ad sets? Are you kind of testing everything against each other? Like, what does that look like?
That's a great question. I definitely want to get more scientific approach with it. I'd say I had more of the creative approach of things. I definitely do. I love the phrase like test the forest, test the trees, test the branches, test the leaves. So we're doing a lot of bigger tests, and that's from, I think Molly Pittman said it on a podcast. I was like, I love that.
That's great.
So a lot of times we'll do really, really big differences in tests, and then we'll kind of see, oh, plantar fasciitis is working. Yeah, let's bring that out into its own campaign. But initially we'll do that research. We'll probably have the main USPs we want to test or whatever. And we'll put those, they might be in their own campaign. It sort of can depend on the client though. And there's a lot of factors, like how many SKUs do they have? How aggressive do they want to be with testing and learning and kind of losing money up front? And then from that, we'll kind of develop different things. Some of our apparel brands, they want to push things evenly, like they have inventory. They just need to push all the products. So we might approach that a lot differently than someone that doesn't really care if one thing takes off versus the other. So it sort of depends on a lot of that. But I would say at first, we're probably leaning in the way that the review research is kind of showing us, doing kind of those main USPs or pain points, kind of making the hypothesis on which one of those is going to work, probably testing them evenly. And then like the example, plantar fasciitis, if that takes off, we're going to double down and do like a whole campaign and sort of more ad sets under that. And just developing that out more and more.
Makes sense.
It makes a ton of sense. For people following along, Tony's super smart. So USP is unique selling proposition, just for people that are not hip to the lingo. So he just means essentially it's a fancy term for value prop, unique selling proposition. That's a really cool system. And that jives very, very much so kind of how you guys run it, Ash, as well, right? But especially even so with the landing page thing and then the PDP kind of stuff. But you really found that success having that coherence throughout with the landing pages, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's the easiest win that people can do, right? Like you just have your standard landing page. Product page might be a little bit different, right? Because that's like a one size template fits all type of thing, right? Because your organic traffic heads there and stuff. But I think on a paid sense, like it really all goes back to how the targeting efficiency has become over the last year and a half, 2 years. If you're really trying to attract the right audience, right, the ad copy needs to be very specific, the creative needs to be very specific, and then just carrying over into the landing page is that level of congruency where the page can be entirely the same. It's just that one, like I said before, just that one liner that just connects the dots for everybody. And it's like, yep, this is for me, and I know it's for me. Then let me learn a little bit more about the product and see if it's the right thing or right fit. So I mean, it's huge. It helps so much, and I think it also helps with, like, in general, just better quality of traffic and cost, right? So like if there is that relevancy across the board, I believe, and I don't know if there's a way to prove this, but you do feel that, like, overall your CPM start to get better, traffic becomes a little bit cheaper, just because it's like you're putting out the right content for Facebook's users and they're kind of rewarding you. So I think there is a level of that to also consider too.
Now, question, Tony, when you're creating ads, are you creating ads specifically for certain platforms, or do you kind of take this, like, do you have the same thought process as approach for, say, like TikTok, Snap, Pins versus Facebook?
Yeah, so we're mainly diving into, we touched on TikTok a bit, but we got invited to go to their workshop that they had actually when I was out in Austin. And like, I just didn't like how fast creative was dying there. And I was like, it's just for our agency, I didn't want to, go into that direction. I think in a year, 2 years, we'll probably go there a bit more. But after that, and then just saying it was going to die pretty quickly and they didn't really care to help advertisers out, we just kind of were like, all right, let's pull back. And so we're mainly Facebook and Google.
Got it.
But yeah, with creative, we kind of let stuff guide us. So we might have like, Google's Performance Max campaigns and look at the spend on like which product, like if there's a lot of SKUs, which product is Google pushing the most? And we might try to let that influence Facebook then, right? So let's try, since it's working so well on Google, let's try, this specific product. Like we have a client that does art, right? So we might see certain pieces of art do really well with Performance Max. So then we'll lead that into kind of our Facebook ads. And like, again, like a new hypothesis, like, let's see if this will work on Facebook. And vice versa. If Facebook, we have creative works really well, we might put that on like a Performance Max campaign. So we kind of leverage the two in different ways, but we will, tend to make different types of creative. But if we get something that works on one, we'll usually, test it on the other platform too.
How important are headlines and copy?
Good question.
Good question.
Hot takes.
Yeah, I mean, I they're important for sure, but I feel like I've seen ads with just mediocre headlines perform really well. Like I think there was a stat, like I don't know who did this study, but it was like creative drives, I don't know, 70-80% roughly of the performance, I think they said, or something. I don't remember what that study was, but like I said, I've seen really mediocre. I've seen both. Like I've seen headlines do really well when they're matched really well with creative, like they're just unstoppable. But at the same time, I've seen ads with really great creative with just like a product title for the headline, and it just still performed. And I was like, what? I think it's getting harder now than it used to be. Like before, I feel like you could really see that. But I still feel like I know one of our clients we just started working with, it's just the name of the product for the headline, and it's one of their top performing ads, but the creative is really good. But vice versa, I've had ads, like I've had the winning combination, and it's like, I don't think you can compare like that with just really good creative. Like I definitely think it helps drive and bring things to like another level if it all lines up. I don't know if I answered that well. I feel like it's a factor, but you can have success with great creative too and a mediocre headline. It's not ideal, but yeah.
I'm tracking. So all things being equal, you'd prefer a creative or asset that is top tier and mid tier copy versus vice versa.
Yeah. I mean, I would prefer both to be great.
Right.
But if I had to choose one, obviously, yeah, I would probably say the creative. Yeah.
Amazing. Ash, where do you fall?
Yeah, I think the headline I think the headline and the first 2 lines on the ad
Mm.
copy should be utilized for either one, an offer, or two, to help with targeting. I don't think the rest of the ad like for us, we follow very like simple structure for all of our like ads. It's literally like the first 2 sentences in the ad copy is going to be like the main qualifier for that audience. Then it goes into like a testimonial, product USPs, offer, CTA, and then headline. It can be interchangeable between offer or even just reaffirming the headline in the ad copy. So it's like suffering from hair loss, like shop now, like that. And I think is just more so for target qualifying. But like even last episode, I was like, I don't think anything after the 2 lines is gonna move the needle. It's really just like that first sentence that's like just nail that, and I think you're good.
Yeah, that's so interesting. Do you guys, and I'll start with you, Tony, and go to Ash. Do you guys ever design creative specific for the placement? So like story specific creative, or are you guys doing any carousel ads or DPA stuff? Are you guys messing around with any of that?
We do more square and story focused stuff for sure. I know there's a lot I can unlock with more catalogs. We haven't dove it because I think there's Socio is one of the apps I think that I've heard more about lately and heard some really good stuff about that. Haven't dealt with it as much and dove into it as much as I'd like to for sure. But we definitely dive into story specific, vertical specific stuff. And then Google too, their various placements there that they might have, which is can be horizontal or whatever too. But mainly I'd say story and like square formats most of the time.
And do you do any YouTube with your Google offerings, or just strictly like shopping, keyword kind of stuff?
Yeah, we do. I would say we're heavier with like I used to be huge in like the smart shopping campaign, so we're going pretty deep with PMAX stuff now. Generic search, YouTube for sure, a bit, not as much as I'd honestly love to, but definitely want to dive in more and more. I think YouTube is different, and like totally some of the people that we help with, I'd say most of our clients are focused more on Facebook than Google. So like YouTube, just teaching the creative there, it can be different. So some of that we haven't dove into as much as I'd like to for sure. But most of it, it's going to be Facebook, really heavy. And then Google focusing more on what we can do with Performance Max, generic search. But it can depend on the client for sure too. And just how good is there, because we don't do the creative. Right. So a lot of times they have a creative team internally, or they might be working with another one. And sometimes they just haven't been that great with YouTube. So it's just sort of the situation that we've been with clients that we've worked with. Yeah.
Amazing. What about you guys, Ash? Because you guys have a pretty robust creative process, as well as kind of the output that you guys have is stellar. You also have a ton of UGC to tap into. Do you guys ever make anything kind of specific for the placement, or you kind of have like a universal asset and you let Facebook kind of manipulate it to the placement?
Yeah, I think I'm with Tony on this. Like a majority of our stuff is like the square format. You do have the TikTok style videos, which will be either for like a reel placement or just in general like feed placement. But you get the enhancements, right? So Facebook will automatically enhance like creative to do specific dimensions. So like I'll go through it and I'll see like, okay, will it recommend if it should be a little bit like what's the right hand corner placement, right, where it's like tiny little thing that I don't think anybody really clicks on. But like if I need to, like I'll move the creative a little around. But like honestly, like the square placement, because a lot of our conversions are on the feed, right? And I'm sure Tony, maybe you can agree to this, but the majority of the conversions are there. So it's like I'm not trying to squeeze the juice, because at that point it's output versus time spent on optimizing the creative for like 10% squeeze. So yeah, probably same answer as Tony.
Yeah, and I feel like they've gotten slightly better, even if you just have square and you're doing all placements. I feel like they've gotten slightly better at making it look better. I know they were pushing like 4.5, and then I just noticed like they were just cropping my 4.5s into square. So now, which is super annoying. So now I'm pretty much just telling every client, like, give me square minimum, and then like I would love it if you could give me vertical too. And then I will go in and try to crop it for those other placements if it works. But most of the time I'm like, yeah, just give me square. And then vertical is a nice bonus for sure.
Like if my product is just being shown in like this tiny spot, like I'm good with it. That's fine. But just like not like somebody's like forehead and trying to just make sure it's okay.
Yeah. Yeah. Some of those like standard, what are they calling those optimizations now too? You have to be careful because like one of my clients, he's an apparel brand. He hates them. He was like, why are they doing like a pink background and this? And I'm like, I don't know what they're doing. So he had that. They started rolling it out, and it wasn't even a button yet. And they just started doing it to his account. And I went in, and I was like, I can't even uncheck this anywhere. But now it's part of those, standard optimizations. But some of my clients, they don't care. He's one of them. It's like, don't run that. So we turn those off for him. But it's some of these optimizations are like, what are you guys doing?
I was just going to ask that because I've had some friends in the agency world as well where they got their hand slapped for that, where it's just like, especially when you get into kind of upscale or very, more high end stuff where the brand is really important. They're like, dude, they almost, in a weird way, they don't want to put any brand equity on the line for performance. Like the brand equity is more important to them and the perception is more important to them than actually performance. And so sometimes they'll put like those little borders and like, to your point, like just really brash colors and things of that nature. And he was telling me like, he'll get like screenshots and then like, WTF, dude, what are you running here? Like, I didn't approve. Like, you know what I mean? He's like, oh man, I'm sorry. Like I'm trying to use the algorithm and stuff. So it's funny that you say that. Cause that was the question I was going to ask you where, some brands have that. I think that's actually a really good lesson for a lot of agency owners is to really be upfront with the brand and be able to catch that before they do, where it's just like, hey, this is what we're going to do. Do you prefer? So when I ran my agency, we had a really awesome ad that crushed it through the season. It was basically like, get your gut ready for the holidays, and had a little pumpkin. And this thing just crushed. And I was like, dude, this is January now. Is this still cool that we run this ad? And the guy was like, yeah, like just print the money. But there's some people that are like, no, like it's off brand or it's going to be seen as some sort of X, Y, and Z. So I think that's really helpful. But that's funny because Ash just has to answer to himself unless Ron yells at him. But Ron's just trying to print money. So it's all good. It's all good. Let's go.
Yeah, we definitely try to gauge the client when it's a lot of like our, onboarding process is we ask all these questions like, is there any wording you would not like us to say? Or like, do you care if we really push it? I mean, I always tell people we used to work with a lot of more like veteran based brands and they love pushing the line. But then now, we're working with all sorts of different people now. So like they're the complete opposite. And I always just tell people like, if I get close to the line, like I'll make sure to bring it up beforehand. But a lot of times I'll be able to gauge. So most of my clients now, I know like, this guy doesn't care if I upload the creative upside down and run it. This client, they're going to lose their minds and freak out, So we gauge them up front for sure.
It's so funny how sometimes that happenstance. So we did that again, kind of going back. I feel like the guy that talks about his high school years, because I haven't run my agency for like almost 2 years now. So I'm like going deep into the well. But we ended up doing that. And it's funny because we ended up with a triple well story, but we ended up doing that on accident, right? Like the creative was flipped over just by like, we just candidly messed up. And it just started crushing. And then we got like all this like, oh my God, this is like 4D chess. Oh my God, incredible. They decided to run this creative and it was just total a fuck up, like 0% planned. And that's actually funny because that's where we send whale mail out, our incredible newsletter that you guys should sign up for, triplel.com/whale mail, shameless plug. But we send it out at 9:30 Eastern time. And the reason for that was essentially AJ would have like these last minute updates. So we ended up pushing it back. It was also, I used to write the newsletter. So I had like all my daily stuff to do. And then I would write the newsletter in the evening. And then it just so happens like our open rates and click-through rates just crushed it. So we just never changed it. So it's just funny how the genesis story and the actual, like what the perception of it is can be very, very far apart. But anyways, thank you for letting me relive my glory days. Good old glory days. You guys ready for some questions?
Of course.
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay, I'm going to start with you, Ash, and I'm going to go to you, Tony. Do you think the TikToks will get banned? There's some bipartisan legislation being thrown around And then actually, let me ask you this first though, because Ash, you're one of the bigger spenders on TikTok, or at least medium to big spend. Are you guys still putting money there? Like, because the creative death, like the early death of the creative, is a big deal, and it's almost like the juice ain't worth the squeeze because you just have to keep feeding this monster that is not only like really, really hungry all the time, but it can also just turn on you and bite your hand where you're spending at X, Y, Z, and then the next day the campaign and the performance just falls apart. So first question is, are you guys still spending on TikTok? And then I want to ask you about the ban.
Yeah. No, I mean, honestly, like we tried even again, like in the month of November, just for Black Friday, and like it was just not converting,
That's what I'm hearing.
like at all. Like, which and it sucks to say because like the beginning of this year, like even like back in May, it was doing really well. Like it
Yep.
was almost half of our budget, like a third cheaper than Facebook CPAs, and I
Yep.
don't know what happened like at all. I don't know if it's because there's more advertisers on the platform and now the platform is like not where it needs to be. I have no idea from like a technical standpoint, but all I know is that we've like tested so much and we just can't crack it anymore. So it's like, all right, back to old faithful Facebook, you know?
Anecdotally, that's exactly what I'm hearing from all the big spenders that used to put proper money in. They're like, dude, it's not even a tertiary channel for us. It's like, maybe I'll throw some stuff over there. But to your point as well, the focus and kind of what Tony was talking about is if you can get something to win on Facebook, there's actual like returns there versus if you get something to hit on face or on TikTok, it's like, this thing could get shut down in an hour, 5 hours a day. Like it just
Yeah. There's
doesn't
no
have the
warning.
longevity. Yeah.
Like
Yes.
Facebook, you feel it. You feel it over
Mm-hmm.
like time. TikTok, it's like, all right, tomorrow I'm dead. Like it's
Yeah.
not, it's just not fun.
Yeah. No, that's absolutely it. Okay. So on that, do you think the TikToks will get banned, Ash? And then I want to hear your answer, Tony. And then if TikTok does get banned, what ramifications do you think that has on e-commerce?
Um, I the I mean, I'm not too close to like the actual like case of what's going on. From what I understand, it's obviously a privacy issue between countries, right? If they can obviously figure something out, which I feel like they might, because there's such a huge US presence for TikTok. So like
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure they'll figure something out. But I do think Meta is doing a better job at the moment with Reels.
Mm-hmm.
Just like creator, like you see it on like Twitter too. A lot of people are talking about how like creators are getting a lot more exposure on Reels now. The reach is good. It's basically what TikTok was like a year ago, like on Instagram. And
Yep.
a lot of people are talking about YouTube Shorts too. So I think what's going to happen is this will probably get played out for a little bit. They'll some changes will be needed to be made to the organization probably. Again, I'm pulling this out of
Yep.
thin air because I'm not too sure like what the specifics are. But in terms of like platform and for marketers, I do think Meta is going to come back in a big way next year. So that's my prediction.
Oh, you're already doing 2023 predictions, steps ahead of me. Tony, where do you land on the TikTok ban? Do you think there will be actual ramifications throughout the ecosystem? Will it impact spend, et cetera, et cetera?
Yeah, I'm kind of with Ash on this. I think they'll just make changes if they need to. I know they kind of were after Trump and everything before. Like I think we're investing more in offices in the U.S. and doing what they could with infrastructure. So I think if anything, they'll just build that out a bit more. Worst case, I think it's going to really help Meta, and everyone's going to go to Shorts or not. What is it? Reels.
Reels.
Getting all the names messed
Reels.
up. Yeah. Reels. Yeah, I've heard a lot more on Reels. I'm having a lot of friends DM me Reels now, so I know like it's getting adopted more and more, which is definitely helps Meta out. In terms of spend, I feel like there's a lot less people, like Ash was saying, like more people are coming off of TikTok because they're like, and when I was at the office, like they really had like no care to help advertisers. When I was talking with them, it was like insane. Like they were just like
interesting
market share kind of thing. Like we just want users to be happy. And like, they were like, yeah, we don't care that ads are going to die. The only thing that they gave me as like some help was they're like, you can cut off like a millisecond of your video and re-upload it, and we've treated it as a new video. I was like, oh, that's cool, but it's still gonna die in 8 days. And I was like, okay, so not ideal, but some better news. But yeah, I think it'll just be like Ash said, like more infrastructure changes if needed. I don't necessarily see it's going to go away. I think they'll just have to make changes.
Did you guys see, I don't know if it was on Twitter or something, but there was a study that said that the downloads year over year have slowed down for TikTok.
Just tried to pull that up. Eric, no, you're not making that up. I actually tweeted that or retweeted it. A brilliant guy, Eric Seufert. I hope I'm not butchering his name. Super, super smart guy. I actually think he's in Austin. I need to hook up with him. Brilliant guy. Really, really heavily involved in the app install space and the app space in terms of advertising, things of that nature. And he deleted the tweet, so I don't know if it was just TikTok yelled at him, the big China arm coming down, or the data was wrong, or what have you. But the original tweet was it was down 33% year over year in terms of downloads. But the other interesting thing was YouTube was also trending in that same direction in terms of app downloads. So there's definitely been just in our data, we've seen the spend is still there, but it's still minuscule. Like Facebook and Google are really where everybody spends their money. And then we've seen just a huge uptick in Google, probably on the back of Performance Max, candidly. But that was not a fabrication. Ash, you definitely saw that tweet. Amazing. So let's start with you, Tony, and then I'll go to you, Ash. What surprised you the most about Black Friday, Cyber Monday performance, if anything?
That's a great question. I mean, we had pretty good performance. I wasn't sure how it was going to be. I would say it depended on the client and the offer that they had. Some of our clients just didn't have great offers and weren't willing to, do good offers, and that's fine. But we had some that, they're running whatever offers, or even their offer that was the same offer they've always had, and they just called it the Black Friday offer. And it did really well. And we had like, but yeah, like they did really well. I just scaled really aggressively a few of them, and I was honestly happy. I'm a bit worried going into like January and just hearing some of the stats on like savings that people have and the amount of debt that people have and just the economy. Like, I'm not sure how Q1 is going to look, but I think overall I was actually really happy with Black Friday. I think we had a lot of success with a lot of our clients, like some of their top sales days for them this year, which was exciting. I was nervous going into it. I had a good feeling. We started early for a lot of people, so we could try to iterate and slowly, scale up more and more instead of trying to do it all in like a day or a few days. I think that helped us out in a bit too. But yeah, I was pretty happy overall.
Yeah, that's a great synopsis. What about you, Ash? How were you? Were you pleasantly surprised, shocked? What were your kind of takeaways from Black Friday, Cyber Monday performance?
I think my predictions prior were probably what ended up happening, at least for us, right? It was a more retention heavy month.
Yep.
Acquisition was tough for us. Again, we're a Q1 product, not necessarily a Q4 product. So kind of trying to like play ball, and we tried. It was very hard to scale. I think a lot of people were spending a lot of money in other areas, whether it would be gifting, right? Or even like, I think jewelry and apparel, right, were two of the categories that did very, very well.
Yep.
I know Q1, I mean, it's just around the corner, right? Like even now, like the next couple of weeks in December are very brutal. Like even today, it's like, I was just telling Robert before, like it's so difficult to even just try and spend more. Because I think people are just waiting, right? Like New Year, like I'm waiting to hit the gym again, like Jan 1st. So it makes sense. Retention was key here, which was great. And like Tony said, we started a little bit earlier to allow for consumers to get a few chances to buy, right? There's 2 or 3 payroll cycles in the month, and people are hoarding on and saving money for the right occasion. And so we wanted to give them enough opportunity to buy. So that was the plan. And I think it happened the way we thought it would, but so no surprises.
Amazing. They are who we thought they were. That's an old
Yeah, I'd say
football
our
quote.
big
If
ones,
anybody
they
gets
were
that
like
one.
apparel that we were scaling, and it was a good deal on the
Yeah.
apparel. So it definitely helps. And giftable stuff. Like we had art too. That's like some of it can be customizable, and like that did really well too. But yeah, like most of it was apparel, I'd say. So yeah, that's definitely a big influence too. Like what's the vertical? Yeah.
Right. Makes sense.
No, that's great feedback. Okay, I'm going to start with you, Tony, because you're the guest, and then Ash will go to you. Give me 3 marketing predictions for 2023.
Oh, geez. I'm terrible at
You can't
these.
come on a
3
December
marketing-
podcast and not expect the prediction
I
question.
know. What did I think of this? Q1's going to be rough, I'm thinking. Probably not for Ash. I think Ash will do great. But I think for for my clients that, some of it's giftable things, apparel. I'm a little leery for Q1. I think it might be a bit rough for a lot of brands out there for sure. Are these all just ad predictions only?
Yeah, or anything. You can have macro predictions.
And 3, I can't just give one. No. So that's that's a big one. What is another big one? I think Reels, like we said, I think Reels is going to like continue to gain a lot of traction. I think Meta, I'm going to say, maybe this is my third one, Meta, I think is going to start bouncing back a bit more.
Yep.
I've heard a lot with, like the Shopping Advantage Plus and stuff, but I feel like they're working on I've heard some rumors that they're working on like a few other things too to just help us with optimizations and stuff. So I'm kind of bullish, I'd say, on Meta next year. I think they'll start turning a lot of things around. I don't know. I think that was 3. We'll say.
Yeah. No, that's well put. What about you, Ash? What's your big 3 predictions for 2023?
I think AI is going to be huge, especially when it comes towards creative, and then also even like copywriting, landing pages. Like to be honest, I actually used the AI to whip up a landing page the other day.
No,
just
the
like
Chat GPT?
It's super helpful because like. Yeah, it's actually really cool because what I did is I brain dumped. So for this COVID angle that we were doing, right? I kind of brain dumped and I did a lot of research and like the technical, like the science behind why you lose your hair and stuff. So like I brain dumped on a document and I literally gave it to this AI and I said, condense this and make it. Literally, I said, make it so that it's easy for a 10-year-old, and it like put out a very simplified version of my write up, and I used that in parts of the landing page, which is really cool. So I do think it's going to be useful for like ad copy, landing pages. Shout out to Chase at Pencil, right? Like that is going to be huge so that creative can also be helped with through an AI, system, like even like reading your data and looking at like trends, right? Because like even for us, like as a human or even a marketer, it's like you're kind of looking at things and you're trying to find trends that may or may not be there, but at least you get like a second, AI crazy, right? To kind of like look at things. So I think AI is gonna be cool. Another prediction, I don't know if it's like a prediction, but it's more just a continuation of what people are focusing on now, and I think creative is going to be more important than ever. I do think that throughout this year, there is going to be an abundance of very similar creative, like the UGC stuff, that people are going to see everywhere. Like every brand is using UGC style, like TikTok style video, like that. Like is just going to be so overwhelming that I think maybe halfway through the year, brands are going to have to pivot what ads look like. I don't know what it is yet. But it's just like if everybody's doing the same thing, it's almost become like there's going to be some type of blindness to it, right? Like how banner blindness was a thing. You're going to see UGC blindness too. So I think coming up with very creative ways to create creative is going to be another thing. And a third thing, it's tough. I think Tony took a couple of mine, so I'm gonna leave you with those 2 strong ones.
Those were strong, to be fair. Those are a big power too. I agree with both of you guys, and I do think just anecdotally, like Triple Whale is starting to heavily leverage, and we're not even going into kind of like the quote unquote artificial intelligence. We're kind of taking a different tack where it's more of like this augmented advertising, where to your point, Ash, where you're putting in kind of like it gets you to 80% or 90% of the way there, and then the human comes in, and then you can kind of like massage it to make it exactly what you want. It's actually pretty
Put your
helpful.
brand voice
It's
on
really
it and
cool.
stuff.
Like,
Yeah.
yeah, like the 0 to 1 is a really hard part. And so being able to get really close to that 1 through the AI, or it's, to your point, Ash, it's really a nice way to absolve yourself from some biases, get back to kind of beginner's mind, because this AI doesn't have the same recency bias, the same survivorship bias. It doesn't have these things that you kind of being so deep in the brand have. So I think that augmented advertising is going to be a big deal coming up, where you're going to start to see almost like the bionic advertiser, right? With like a human and a machine melding together to make this like super human advertiser, where you're being able to augment that, where there's a certain aspect of like a computer and a chess can always beat a person playing chess, but a person with a computer and like a person and a computer together will always beat the computer. And so like I think that's kind of what's going to happen in advertising, is that people are going to start to level up with this kind of AI stuff. So I totally agree with that. I do, unfortunately, because I think we're going to do some partnerships with them, and I do think it's a really interesting channel, but I do think TikTok will still have a lot of headwinds as well, without the ability to have creative last. I think that just is it's going to be hard to kind of get moving. My hot take is I think Twitter ads might actually be useful. So I don't know, that could be totally off base, but I think Twitter ads could actually become a decent buy for certain areas, certain metrics. And I think that short form is going to have a kind of a big resurgence as well, where I think shorts, like we're seeing a lot of success with YouTube shorts, reels, and then you can obviously just toss it over to TikTok as well. I think that format is going to have a big resurgence, where it's easy to do, it's low key. And I do agree with you as well, Ash, on the aspect of there's going to be some creative challenges, because it almost feels like everybody's tapped out everything. And so like, is corduroy coming back? Like what's going to happen to bring things back? Cause I do agree with you guys there. Okay. Last question. And then this will go Tony first, and then Ash, and then we'll wrap it up. Tony, what's the most insane article of clothing in your closet? Come on, you're like the best dressed guy.
It might be the sequins blazer. My mom she just gets me like the loudest things she can find at stores now. So she did get me like a crazy bright colored button up. She just thinks it's me. So it's just my identity now, I guess.
That's amazing.
But probably, yeah, if I put on the full Nashville outfit, I had on the sequins blazer with the bolo, the cowboy hat, the boots. Yeah, it's a lot. It's not me at all, but I feel like Rob Dyrdek just like dressing up for a random event. Like that's just where I'm at with my life. So I just like, just commit and go all out. And
dude, Robin Big was arguably one of the best reality TV shows ever. I love that show. He died. Big died like a little while ago, unfortunately. Crazy. But I guess they had like this just really interesting relationship. Loved it. Mawani, what's the craziest thing you got in your closet? You're pretty tightened up. I haven't seen you with anything crazy. Some of your Indian garb can get pretty fun.
Yeah, the Indian outfits are fun. You definitely need a lot of them, because there's a lot of Indian weddings and a lot of events for Indian weddings. So I think there's this one outfit that I like, for some reason, like a few years ago, Fashion Nova had a Black Friday sale, and I just bought like a shit ton of stuff. And I got this really big red puffer jacket, red sneakers, and leopard print sweatpants. And I don't know who I thought it was. Like, I need to find this picture, because like it was so absolutely ridiculous, and I don't know why I put this like outfit together, but I looked like a tomato with leopard skin, and it was like very embarrassing. And I thought at the time it would be cool, because like a lot of the models on Fashion Nova look sick, and I was like, I'm gonna look like that. And I've never worn it since, so I'm gonna have to find a picture.
If you don't wear that to the Whaleys, I'm going to be so disappointed. That's amazing. Oh my gosh. Okay, so
Yeah.
we're going to have if you message myself or Ash leopard pants, we'll get you some free Triple Well merch. That'll be the safe word for this episode. Leopard pants. Just message Ash and I. Tony, man, this has been so cool. I really man, I miss you. We need to get you back to Austin. Obviously, you're going to be coming to Whaleys. It's going to get crazy. February 1st and 2nd, then it'll launch next week, or actually it'll launch before because this podcast will come out later. But tell the people where they can find you. Are you taking clients? Let people know. This time is yours, my friend.
Yeah, we're taking clients. I'm everywhere, just at Tony Does Ads. And then our website's just bricksocial.co.uk.
Amazing. Dude, thank you so much for the time. Melwani, you know what time it is. If they see a vitamin shop, what do they need to do? What is the protocol?
Listen, if you just got COVID, you might experience some hair loss. And I know for a fact our collagen helps with that. So if you don't want to order online and face those long shipping times, drive past the vitamin shop, pick up Avi Collagen today, take a picture, send it to me on Twitter. Otherwise, you can find me on Twitter at Ashwin Melwani. Our new podcast, get some D2C merch. I'm wearing the CMO sweater today. ChewOnThis.io. Mentor Pass, Q1's around the corner. So if you need help with strategy, hit me up there. But that's it for me.
Amazing. Thank you, Ash. Thank you, Tony. If you guys want to get more involved with Triple Whale, it's triplewhale.com. We also have an incredible newsletter that we alluded to called Whale Mail. It goes out every Tuesday, Thursday. We would love to have you as a whale mailer. You can subscribe right at triplewhale.com/whale mail. And I think that's it. Whaleys is coming up. We have a crazy cool D2C gift guide. If you want to check out some of the recommended gifts to buy people, it is just go to triplewhale.com. There's a little banner you can click on for the holiday D2C gift guide. What else we got? We're launching the rules engine soon, so that'll actually be out by the time this drops. And then if you want to show some love, definitely share the podcast, like the podcast, subscribe on the YouTube, subscribe on your favorite podcast player. And then any tweets are always appreciated. We love our fans, and you guys have been so amazing. I think we have one or two more. I think one more, actually, before we close out the year. So, and we also have some big news with we acquired a podcast network. We now have a head of a podcast network. We're starting a podcast network. So stay tuned for all that awesomeness. And then I guess lastly, we have a sister show called ROAS, You're Not Your ROAS, where I sit down and talk to some of the most interesting people in the D2C space. And that's it. Go buy some Avi. Go hire Tony. Go try and see if you can get TikTok ads to work. And then lastly, go somebody find this picture of Ashwin Melwani in leopard pants. I need to see this. What is going on here? That's a great story. Tony, man, I can't wait to see you on the Geek Out circuit again. Stoked to see you here in Austin. And then Melwani, it's always a pleasure, my man. You're always the best.
Always.
Thanks.
All right, folks, that's another ad spin in the books. Thanks so much for joining us, and we'll see you all next week. Bye-bye.